The family business dinner was supposed to be a celebration. The hotel ballroom glowed with gold lights. Crystal glasses covered every table. Powerful business leaders laughed, shook hands, and talked about money as if it were air. This was not just a dinner. It was a show of status. Outside the entrance, Daniel stood alone. He adjusted his simple black suit and checked the invitation on his phone again. The message was clear. "You are not invited." It had come from his own mother. Daniel slowly locked his phone and looked up at the bright doors. Inside were his parents, his older brother Mark, his sister Elaine, and the company executives. Everyone who mattered, except him. No one inside knew he was standing there. Daniel did not feel angry. Not yet. He felt something colder. Something heavier. 2 days earlier, his father had called him. "Daniel, this dinner is important," his father said in a sharp voice. "It's for real leaders of the company." Daniel stayed quiet. "You don't belong there," his father continued. "You never helped the business. You never showed ambition. Don't embarrass us." Then the line went dead. That was it. No discussion. No explanation. Daniel had wanted to argue, but he didn't. He had learned long ago that his words meant nothing in that family. He took a slow breath and walked inside anyway. At the entrance desk, a young woman smiled politely. "Invitation, sir?" Daniel handed over his phone. She frowned slightly. "I'm sorry," she said. "Your name is not on the guest list." "I know," Daniel replied calmly. "I'm here as an observer." Before she could respond, a loud voice cut in. "What is he doing here?" Mark stood nearby, holding a drink. His expensive suit fit him perfectly. Confidence poured from him like perfume. Daniel turned to face his older brother. "I came to see the event," Daniel said simply. Mark laughed. "You weren't invited. This is not your place." Nearby guests began to look over. Their mother, Evelyn, hurried over. Her smile disappeared when she saw Daniel. "Daniel, this is embarrassing," she whispered angrily. "Leave now." Daniel met her eyes. "Why?" She looked away. "This is a business dinner. Serious people only." Elaine joined them, arms crossed. "You're just here to get attention." Daniel nodded slowly. "I won't cause trouble." Mark smirked. "You already are." Their father finally appeared. His face hardened when he saw Daniel. "Enough," he said. "Security." The word hit like a slap. 2 security guards stepped forward. Guests whispered. Phones came out. Daniel felt every eye on him, but he didn't move. "I'll stand at the back," Daniel said quietly. "I won't speak." His father hesitated. The attention was growing. A scene would look bad. "Fine," his father said coldly. "But stay invisible, like always." Daniel walked to the back of the room. The dinner continued. Speeches began. Mark talked proudly about the company's future. Elaine discussed expansion plans. Their parents smiled as if everything was perfect. Daniel listened. Every word mattered. What none of them knew was this. 5 years earlier, when the company almost collapsed, Daniel had quietly invested. No one had believed in him then. No one had cared to check the documents he signed. They never asked where the money came from. They never asked how many shares he owned. Daniel watched as champagne was poured and deals were discussed. Then a projector screen turned on. A company representative stepped forward. "Before we continue," the man said, "we would like to welcome our major shareholders." Daniel's heart slowed. Names were read aloud. Not his yet. The room applauded. Then the representative paused, confused, staring at the screen. "There seems to be an update," he said. Mark frowned. Their father leaned forward. Daniel folded his hands calmly. Because now, the night was about to change. And no one at that dinner was ready for what came next. Years before the business dinner, Daniel had been invisible to his own family. While Mark and Elaine worked inside the family company, Daniel was told he was not ready. His father said he lacked confidence. His mother said he lacked ambition. No one asked what Daniel wanted. So Daniel left quietly. He moved to a small apartment in another city. It had thin walls, old furniture, and no comfort. But it gave him something he never had before: peace. At first, life was hard. Daniel worked long hours at a small finance firm. He was not important there either. He made coffee, checked numbers, and stayed late without complaint. While others talked loudly, Daniel listened. While others rushed, Daniel studied. People underestimated him. That became his greatest advantage. One night, while working late, Daniel noticed something strange in a financial report. It involved his family's company. Sales were dropping. Debt was growing. The company was bleeding money but hiding it well. Daniel checked again. Then again. His hands shook slightly. The company was close to collapse. Daniel remembered the pride in his father's voice, the arrogance in Mark's smile, the way Elaine laughed when Daniel once suggested helping the business. They had no idea what was coming. Weeks later, the news broke quietly. The company needed emergency investment. Privately, shares were being sold at a very low price. Desperation was hidden behind smiles. Daniel saw the opportunity. Not for revenge. Not yet. For survival. He used every saving he had. Then he borrowed money. He lived on cheap food. He sold his old car. Every risk felt heavy, but his mind was clear. Daniel bought shares. Silently. Legally. No one noticed his name among the paperwork. It was just another investor. Another number. Months passed. The company survived. Mark took credit. Their father called it strong leadership. Their mother hosted celebrations. Daniel watched from afar. He never told anyone what he had done. Over the years, Daniel continued investing. He studied business day and night. He learned patience. He learned control. He learned that power did not need to shout. Slowly, his ownership grew. Until one day, without drama, without noise, Daniel became the majority shareholder. And still no one knew. Back in the ballroom, Daniel stood quietly as the representative stared at the screen. "There appears to be a correction," the man said, clearing his throat. "One of our largest shareholders has arrived tonight." Mark smiled proudly. "Must be one of our partners." Elaine nodded. "Probably foreign investors."
Their father adjusted his tie.
Daniel did not move. The representative continued. "This individual holds more shares than any other private investor." The room buzzed. Whispers filled the air. Mark leaned toward his father. "Why wasn't I informed?" Their father frowned. "I was." But he wasn't. The representative looked nervous. "According to our records, the shareholder is present in this room." Silence fell. People looked around. Daniel felt every second stretch. Then Mark laughed. "Come on, stop joking." The representative hesitated. "I'm not joking, sir." Their mother's smile slowly faded. Elaine scanned the room, confused. Daniel took one step forward. Not enough to be seen. Just enough to be ready. The representative checked his tablet again. The shareholder chose to remain private until tonight. Mark rolled his eyes. "This is ridiculous." Daniel remembered every insult, every dismissal, every door closed in his face. He did not feel anger. He felt calm. The calm of someone who had already won. The representative spoke again. "Shall we invite the shareholder to the stage?" Their father nodded quickly. "Yes, of course." Mark straightened his jacket. Elaine fixed her hair. Daniel exhaled slowly. Because soon invisibility would end. And once the truth came out, nothing in that family would ever be the same again. The representative waited, standing under the bright lights of the stage. "Please," he said again, "we invite our largest shareholder to come forward." The room stayed silent. People looked around, smiling politely, unsure what to do. Mark laughed loudly. "Whoever it is, they're enjoying the attention." Their father forced a smile. "Let's continue the program." But the representative did not move. "Sir, company policy requires acknowledgement." Murmurs spread through the room. Daniel felt his heart beat once, slow and steady. He stepped forward. At first, no one noticed. Then a woman near the stage gasped softly. "That's him," someone whispered. Daniel walked calmly through the crowd. His steps were quiet. His face showed no emotion. Mark saw him first. The smile froze on his lips. Elaine's eyes widened. "What is he doing?" Their mother shook her head slightly. This is not funny. Daniel reached the edge of the stage. The representative looked at his tablet, then at Daniel. Mr. Daniel Hayes? He asked. Daniel nodded. Yes. The room exploded into noise. Mark laughed sharply. This is a mistake. Their father stepped forward. There must be an error. The representative swallowed. There is no error, sir. Mr. Hayes holds 42% of the company's private shares. Silence fell like a heavy curtain. Daniel's mother's face went pale. Elaine whispered, That's impossible. Mark shook his head. He doesn't even work here. Daniel spoke for the first time that night. His voice was calm and clear. I didn't need permission to invest. The words cut deep. Their father stared at him. Why didn't you tell us? Daniel met his gaze. You never ask. Guests watched closely now. Phones recorded. Whispers turned into sharp curiosity. The representative cleared his throat. Would you like to say a few words, Mr. Hayes? Daniel stepped onto the stage. From there, he could see everything. The fear. The confusion. The pride cracking. I came tonight because I was invited, Daniel said. Not by my family, but by the company. Mark clenched his fists. You embarrassed us. Daniel looked at him. You embarrassed yourselves. Gasps filled the room. Their mother rushed forward. Daniel, please. This is not the place. Daniel turned to her. You told me this was not my place. Yet here I stand. Elaine tried to smile. We're family. Let's talk later. Daniel shook his head slowly. You had years to talk. The representative shifted nervously. Shall we continue with the dinner? Daniel raised a hand. In a moment, he looked at the guests. Many of you know me as someone unimportant. That was my choice. He paused. Power is quieter than pride. Some guests nodded. Others looked uncomfortable. Daniel turned back to his family. You banned me from this dinner. Their father opened his mouth. No words came out. Daniel continued. You believed respect came from titles, from noise. Mark snapped. You planned this. Daniel replied calmly. No. I prepared. The difference mattered. Elaine's voice shook. What do you want? Daniel thought for a second. I want honesty, he said. And accountability. The room went still. The representative spoke carefully. Mr. Hayes, there is also a private matter that needs discussion. Daniel nodded. Yes. The company's hidden debt. Shock flashed across his father's face. Mark's eyes widened. What debt? Daniel looked at him. The one you didn't disclose. Gasps echoed. Guests leaned forward. Daniel continued. The overseas expansion failed. The losses were hidden under shell accounts. Their father shouted, That is confidential. Daniel replied, Not anymore. The representative's hands trembled. This is serious. Daniel nodded. I know. He stepped down from the stage. Tonight, Daniel said, is not about revenge. Mark scoffed. It's about truth, Daniel continued. He looked directly at his parents. You taught me one thing very well, he said. Silence. The words hung heavy. Daniel turned back to the representative. Proceed with the meeting. As he walked back into the crowd, whispers followed him like shadows. The family stood frozen. Because the dinner meant to celebrate their power had become the night it began to collapse. And the real consequences were still coming. The dinner continued, but the mood had changed. The laughter was gone. The smiles felt forced. Every guest whispered behind their glasses. Daniel sat quietly at a side table. He did not eat. He only watched. At the center table, his family sat stiff and silent. Mark leaned close to their father. Fix this, he whispered angrily. Their father's face was tight. I will. But the damage had already begun. A senior investor stood up and cleared his throat. Before we move forward with any deals, I have questions. Others nodded. The representative froze. The investor continued. We just learned about hidden losses. Why were we not informed? Elaine spoke quickly. It's a misunderstanding. Another voice cut in. Then explain it. The room grew loud. Daniel felt his phone vibrate. One message. Then another. Executives. Partners.
Thanks.
The truth was spreading faster than anyone could stop it. The representative whispered urgently to Daniel. We need a private discussion. Daniel nodded. Soon. At the main table, Mark stood suddenly. This dinner is out of control. A foreign investor shook his head. Because of lies. Their father slammed his hand on the table. We built this company. Daniel looked up. Yes, he said calmly. And you nearly destroyed it. Silence followed. Guests stared, openly now. Daniel stood. If you'll excuse me, he said, I believe it's time for transparency. The representative hesitated, then nodded. Daniel walked back to the stage. The company is facing a serious risk, Daniel said. Several loans will be reviewed tomorrow morning.
Gasp spread.
Elaine whispered sharply. How do you know that? Daniel looked at her. Because I was informed, as the majority shareholder. Their father's face drained of color. Mark's voice cracked. You're enjoying this. Daniel shook his head.
No.
I'm preventing collapse. A banker stood. Without immediate assurance, we will freeze credit. Panic hit the room. Guests stood. Phones rang. Deals collapsed in real time. The representative whispered, if credit freezes, the company will fall within weeks. All eyes turned to Daniel. He felt the weight, but not fear. He had carried heavier things alone. Their mother walked toward him slowly. Daniel, please. He looked at her. I warned you years ago, he said softly. You didn't listen. Tears filled her eyes. We're family, Daniel replied. Family listens. Mark stepped forward. What do you want? Daniel paused. I want the truth presented, he said. Tonight. The representative nodded quickly. We can do that. Charts appeared on the screen. Losses.
Debt. Lies.
Gasps turned into anger. Investors shouted. Executives argued. Their father sank into his chair. Mark looked around wildly. This will ruin us. Daniel spoke calmly.
No.
Lying already did. A banker cleared his throat. If Mr. Hayes assumes control, we may reconsider. The room went silent. Daniel did not answer immediately. He looked at his family, at the people who had banned him, ignored him, belittled him. I will think about it, Daniel said. The words hit like thunder, because they knew now. They needed him, and he owed them nothing. The family business dinner was only 2 days away. The house felt tense, like the air before a storm. Everyone was busy preparing, but no one spoke about the real problem, Ethan. Ethan stayed calm on the outside. On the inside, his mind was sharp and focused. He did not rush. He did not argue. He waited. His parents, Richard and Linda, believed they were in control. They had sent the invitations without his name. They had told the board that Ethan was taking time away. They thought that by cutting him out of one public event, they had pushed him back into the shadow. They were wrong. That morning, Ethan met with Mr. Collins at a quiet cafe near the city center. Mr. Collins was one of the oldest board members and a man who respected facts more than family drama. You're sure you want to do this now? Mr. Collins asked. Yes, Ethan said. If I wait, they will twist the story more. Mr. Collins nodded. Then it's time. He slid a folder across the table. Inside were copies of shareholder records, legal agreements, and voting rights. Everything was clear. Ethan was not just a silent partner. He was the second largest shareholder in the company. That same afternoon, emails were sent, quietly and professionally, to all board members. The message was simple. There would be an important announcement at the dinner. Attendance was strongly advised. No one mentioned Ethan's name. That made it even more powerful. The evening arrived. The family business dinner was held at a luxury hotel ballroom. Bright lights, soft music, and long tables filled the room. Important investors, partners, and board members arrived in expensive suits and dresses. Everyone smiled, laughed, and shook hands. Richard stood near the front, confident and proud. Linda moved through the crowd, greeting guests like a queen. Mark, Ethan's younger brother, enjoyed the attention. He believed this night was his future. Everything is perfect, Linda whispered to Richard. Just like we planned. Richard nodded. Once this dinner is over, the board will fully support Mark. They never looked toward the door. At exactly 7:30, the room quieted. Richard stepped onto the stage, holding a microphone. He thanked everyone for coming and spoke about family values and the next generation of leadership. Then, just as he was about to introduce Mark, the doors at the back of the hall opened. All heads turned. Ethan walked in. He wore a simple dark suit. No flashy watch. No loud confidence. Just calm steps and clear eyes. Behind him were two men from the legal firm and Mr. Collins. A soft wave of whispers moved through the room. Is that? I thought he wasn't coming. Why is he here? Linda's smile froze. Mark's face went pale. Richard's hand tightened around the microphone. Ethan did not rush. He walked forward slowly, respecting the moment. When he reached the front, Mr. Collins stepped beside him. Richard, Mr. Collins said calmly, I believe the agenda needs a small correction. Richard forced a laugh. This is a private family matter. Mr. Collins shook his head.
No.
This is a shareholder matter. The room went silent. Mr. Collins turned to the guests. Before any leadership announcement is made, it is my duty to remind everyone who holds decision power in this company. He opened the folder and handed copies to several board members sitting in the front row. These records show that Ethan holds 28% of company shares, Mr. Collins continued. That makes him a major shareholder. Any decision made without his presence is legally incomplete. Gasps filled the room. Mark stood up. That can't be right. Ethan finally spoke. His voice was steady and clear. It is right. I never sold my shares. I never stepped down. I was only pushed away. Linda tried to speak, but no words came out. Ethan looked at his parents not with anger, but with disappointment. You banned me from dinner, he said. But you forgot to check who actually owns the table. The room felt heavy. Investors exchanged looks. Board members whispered urgently. Richard's face turned red. You planned this. Ethan nodded once.
No.
You planned this. I just showed up with the truth. Mr. Collins raised his hand. Due to this information, all leadership announcements are postponed. A full board meeting will be held tomorrow morning. The guests slowly began to stand, talking loudly now. Some came to Ethan, shaking his hand. Others looked at Richard with doubt in their eyes. Mark sat back down, stunned. Linda finally found her voice. You embarrassed us. Ethan looked at her. You embarrassed yourselves. He turned and walked away, leaving the ballroom behind. The night that was meant to erase him had done the opposite. And this was only the beginning. The next morning, the boardroom was full. Daniel arrived early. He sat near the window, calm and silent. The city outside moved fast, unaware that a family empire was about to change forever. One by one, board members entered. They nodded at Daniel with new respect. Some smiled. Some looked nervous. His family arrived last. His father walked slowly, his shoulders heavy. His mother looked tired, her eyes swollen from crying. Mark avoided Daniel's gaze. Elaine sat stiff, her arms crossed tightly. No one spoke at first. Then Mr. Collins cleared his throat. Let's begin. The screen turned on. Numbers filled the wall. Losses.
Debts.
Risks.
Truth.
Daniel listened quietly as the company's real condition was explained. There was no shouting now. No pride. Only fear. A banker spoke next. Without immediate restructuring, the company will fail within 6 months. Silence. Then all eyes turned to Daniel. He felt it again, the weight of power, but also clarity. Mr. Collins spoke carefully. Daniel, as the majority shareholder, your decision will guide us. Daniel nodded slowly. I understand. Mark finally snapped. You're enjoying this. Daniel looked at him.
No.
I survived this. The words hit harder than anger. Their father stood up suddenly. I made mistakes. Everyone froze. I should have listened, his father continued, voice breaking. I pushed you away. Daniel did not respond. His mother stood next. Tears rolled down her face.
Please.
This is still your family. Daniel took a breath. Family doesn't ban its own. Elaine spoke sharply. So what? You take everything from us. Daniel looked at her calmly.
No.
I take responsibility. The board watched closely. Daniel stood. I will step in as interim chairman. Gasps filled the room. Mark stood up. You can't do that. Mr. Collins replied firmly. He can. And he will. Daniel continued. There will be changes. He looked directly at Mark. Leadership positions will be reviewed. Mark's face went pale. Daniel turned to his parents. You will no longer make executive decisions. His mother whispered. You're punishing us. Daniel shook his head. I'm protecting the company. The difference mattered. One board member nodded. That's leadership. Over the next hours, decisions were made. Contracts were frozen. Audits approved. New rules set. Daniel stayed calm through it all. His family stayed silent. By afternoon, the meeting ended. Outside the boardroom, his parents approached him. Daniel, his father said quietly, we raised you. Daniel replied, you raised control. I learned patience elsewhere. His mother reached for his arm. Please don't shut us out. Daniel looked at her hand, then gently stepped back. I won't shut you out, but I won't let you in where you don't belong. Mark stormed away. Elaine said nothing. That evening, news broke quietly. Markets reacted positively. Investors felt relief. The company's value stabilized. Daniel sat alone in his office, watching the city lights. Revenge did not feel loud. It felt complete. But one decision still remained. And it would define everything. Weeks passed. The company slowly healed. Under Daniel's leadership, costs were cut, lies were removed, and trust was rebuilt. Employees felt safer. Investors felt calmer. For the first time in years, the company moved forward without fear. Daniel never raised his voice. He never bragged. Power stayed quiet. One afternoon, Daniel stood alone in the empty ballroom where the dinner had taken place. The lights were off. The room felt smaller now. He remembered standing at the back, banned and invisible. He did not smile, because revenge was never the goal. Respect was. Later that day, Daniel called for a private meeting. Only family. No board. No lawyers. Just truth. They sat across from him in a small conference room. His father looked older. His mother looked fragile. Mark stared at the table. Elaine crossed her arms. Daniel spoke first. I didn't come back to destroy you. Mark laughed bitterly. Then what was all this? Daniel replied calmly. A correction. Silence followed. I built my position without your help, Daniel continued. And without your approval. His father nodded slowly. We underestimated you. Daniel looked at him. You ignored me. That hurt more. His mother whispered. We were afraid you would fail. Daniel replied. So you pushed me away. Elaine finally spoke. What happens now? Daniel took a breath. You will remain family, he said. But the company will never again be used as a weapon. Mark looked up. You're cutting us out. Daniel shook his head.
No.
I'm setting boundaries. He slid papers across the table. New roles. Reduced power. Clear rules. Earn trust, Daniel said. Or step aside. His father's hands trembled as he read. And you? Daniel replied, I lead quietly. They signed. Not because they wanted to. Because they had to. That evening, Daniel walked out of the building alone. No applause. No celebration. Just peace. Months later, the company announced record stability. Not explosive growth, healthy growth. Daniel declined interviews. He refused public praise. Success did not need noise. One night, Daniel received a message from his mother. I'm proud of you. He stared at it for a long time, then replied with 2 words. Be better. He did not block them. He did not forgive everything. But he moved forward. The story spread quietly inside the company. A lesson without shouting. Never measure power by volume. Never mistake silence for weakness. And never ban someone from the table without checking who owns it.